I want to welcome you to the heart of one of Estonia's most well-known suburban housing complexes, URP588 in Tallinn. The suburban development of URP588 is one of many developments led by the Soviet regime of occupied Estonia from the 1960s up into the 1980s. Features of these suburban developments are in very much contrast to what we see here in the United States. In this video, we're going to dive into the many factors such as social phenomena and physical environment to depict why and how post-Soviet housing developments are unique among the world stage of housing urban development systems.
In an effort to construct optimal social and economic sustainability, the Soviet communist structure developed communities such as URP588 in Tallinn and Anilin within Tartu. The development patterns of Soviet residential districts socially and systematically engineered how residents lived, worked, and played. Most notably, residents within these Soviet districts worked in nearby manufacturing and military-type jobs. Thus, public transportation was key and personal automobile ownership was unnecessary and unaffordable to the average working-class citizen. The Soviet government basically had complete control of planning, developing, and distributing housing to citizens who lived within these developments. One of the great economic successes of the Soviet housing development theory is the theory of contract and release tactics. These tactics were purely economical in the sense that residents were grouped together living in one central location rather than like the United States where suburban housing development was quite scattered on large land plots. The implementation of park-like and green spaces within these Soviet developments are seen as a success in today's living standards for sustainable development. One of the more notable inadequacies or weaknesses of the Soviet development system was a lack of completion in developing services and amenities within these residential districts. Most notably, a lack of completion of amenities and services within these residential districts were due to a falling economy in the 1980s and the imminent collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. Since the re-establishment of a free Estonia after the fall of the USSR in 1991, questions of who and how to maintain these residential developments would arise, as residents would now have the option to purchase their own apartment. The free market took over as municipalities took over. Issues and costs of maintaining the overall building would arise. As Estonians' wages continue to rise under the free market system, a willingness to pay an HOA fee is still uncertain and/or unpopular. In addition to free market and wage increases among the Estonian population, Estonians now are also experiencing increased automobile usage rates. Increased automobile usage has strained these former Soviet housing development complexes, recalling a heavy reliance on public transportation and a failure to develop adequate space for automobiles as it wasn't needed in these residential districts is now straining the overall landscape of these complexes. Overall, communities such as URP588, Mustamäe, Lasnamäe, and Anilin are assets in the realm of sustainable urban suburban living. They pose as great assets for recreational walking and biking, but also pose as a great hindrance as increased automobile use has dominated the landscape in recent history. I want to thank you for your time and attention during this presentation.